Welcome to Two Idiots and a Dog, Idiots Unleashed, where dreams become food. What? Did I stutter?
Okay, first of all, I don't know where dreams come from, but food? This podcast has nothing to do with food.
I mean, if you don't know where dreams come from, I don't know what to tell you.
Are dreams made of cheese?
No, that's the moon.
But sweet dreams are made of cheese. Who am I to disagree?
Sorry, Mythical Kitchen, for even remotely associating you with this jackassery.
I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not.
I'm Grim.
And I am Zolgar, and apparently I am in a mood today. And Kaiju is sleeping adorably.
Just a quick warning, this is an uncensored podcast, so you may hear adult language or other content not suited for children, the workplace, church, or, frankly, human consumption.
This week, our topic is our favorite media adaptations. I think this was actually my idea. I need to go double check that in my notes.
We're professionals.
I mean, you could have continued things, but...
Could have continued your face.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yes. This was my idea.
Sounds like something only an idiot would come up with.
And an idiot would agree to it as well. And idiots voted on it.
I agreed to nothing. I am here against my will.
I here against my will. I'm Zolgar.
I will fucking kill you and they will never find your body.
If you have an idea for a topic for us, you can let us know on our Discord or social media, but you can only vote in the topic poll on Discord.
Now stand back.
Because the idiots were unleashed long, long ago.
So, favorite media adaptations.
Okay, we need to set one ground rule really quick. We cannot talk about Sandman.
Mr. Sandman.
You're going to get us sued.
Grief.
Okay, so we both really love Sandman. It's a great media adaptation, but we have spent now at this point, or point of recording this, over 2 hours talking about Sandman, so I think it's time to let other things have a little bit of play.
No, Sandman, greatest adaptation I've seen to date.
Beyond that, we're also not going to really touch on the really big properties like the MCU, the DCEU, the DC animated stuff, because those are all just huge cans of worms that if we try to talk about them, well, they're going to completely dominate this episode. Yes, I know you love your DC animated content.
The sacrifices I make for you people. And none of you even appreciate it.
Now, if you'd like to hear us talk about the MCU, the DCEU, the DC animated universe, feel free to suggest it. We're always looking for more suggestions, and hey, somebody might vote on it. Or some weirdo named Athen might decide he really wants to hear it and pay us to do it.
You're still banned, by the way. You know what you did.
And then our final thing is exactly how we are defining media adaptation. And that is something that either tells a different version of the same story, so not quite a remake, but similar, or has changed media formats. And we are counting TV show and movie as one format. So for the sake of example, Stargate SG-1 is not considered an adaptation of Stargate because it is a continuation of the story in a very similar format.
Yeah. No. That said, Pacific Rim the Black, though a continuation, is a change in media. It is animation versus film.
Yeah. We count that as an adaptation. There might be a few places where things get a little weird, but you know what? This is our show. We make the rules.
It's my show. I do what I want. That's not true. If I did what I want, I'd be asleep right now. Instead, you're all here suffering, listening to my jackassery.
All right, so we got the big one out of the way, Sandman. We both love Sandman. It's a great show. Go watch it. Go read the comic. Go listen to our episodes on it.
Go read the ancillary and auxiliary comics.
Go watch Lucifer.
Go pester Neil Gaiman on social media about how great it is.
Go demand Netflix give us season 2.
And maybe give your firstborn to Tom Sturridge. I don't know.
Netflix, season 2 of Sandman when?
Give me my Sandman!
Alright, so, off the top of your head, outside of Sandman, what's one of your favorite media adaptations?
I'm gonna go with one that I'm actually rewatching right now. It is the anime that I have now watched 3 times to completion.
Fucking weeb.
Damn right. It is the anime adaptation of Bleach.
Yes, manga and anime do count as, or anime does count as an adaptation of manga as long as it's based on a manga.
Yep. Bleach it's a fucking shonen anime. Like, you know what you're getting into here. Like, this is your DBZs. This is your Naruto's. This is your Bleach. It's Bleach. It's one of the big 3. Kaiju, bite him.
I'm not a big fan of the, forever long-running anime.
Yeah. That said, it does tackle some of the shonen problems, let's say, quite adeptly. So the joke in shonen anime, especially with DBZ, is that your one fight takes how many episodes?
27.
That is still the case here, but that is because there are 12 fights happening simultaneously, and you're getting snippets of each one in the episodes.
And what we're not seeing in Bleach is the fight lasting 27 episodes, because 26 of those episodes are them powering up to make their big attack.
Yeah. And the best part is, Bleach defies a lot of the early conventions here, where, yes, eventually you end up with all the little weird named attacks, but when Ichigo first starts using his main attack, Getsuga Tensho, he didn't even know the name of it. He just unleashed this big bursting energy attack when he swung his sword, and then later learned the name of it, and it got stronger and such. Yeah, so it's is it the best shonen on the planet? Oh, fuck no. God, I don't even know what the best shonen on the planet would be. But and if you comment me in the comments and say Naruto, I will hurt you.
So, if you would like us to do an episode entirely dedicated to Naruto,
good luck.
Yeah, so first of all, I will not watch that. Well, okay, I'll rephrase that. If you pay us enough, we'll do it.
But I'm going to complain the whole time.
So will I.
And that's not necessarily a thing against Naruto, it's just every time I mention I'm a Bleach fan, some fucking Naruto fan comes out of the woodwork, fucking ninjutsu style, just poof next to me to be like, well, yeah, but have you seen Naruto? Yes, I have fucking seen Naruto. Bleach is better. Bite me.
Okay, now that's enough Naruto.
Alright. Bitch, did you just?
Did I just what?
I'm watching you.
I said that was enough on Naruto.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll go back to Bleach. So Bleach... Okay, no, I'm kidding. I mostly said what I had to say about it being an adaptation. The main deviation is because I think it's worth bringing up some of the changes in the adaptations, as relatively briefly. They lowered the gore count for the television. Manga is a lot bloodier. And they would catch up to the manga so quickly that they needed filler arcs. And this is quite common in anime. But the filler arcs we got for Bleach, most of them were actually really good. And it's almost a shame that we never saw those characters as storylines again, because we went back to the main story when the manga had more chapters out. Yeah, so that's obviously that was a big one for me. What about you?
So, I'm kind of all over the place.
I am as well. I just went with that one first because that's what I've been watching lately.
I'm going to go with a manga adaptation as well. But it's not going to be one most people are going to expect. Let's see if you can guess it.
Is this Beastars?
Nope.
No. Interesting. Okay. Hit me.
Battle Angel Alita.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
I really do not like especially the live action one. I do not like the stylistic choice. It's too off-putting for me.
I'm not sure if there's an anime of it, is there?
I thought there was.
I'm not sure. If there is, I have literally never seen anything about it.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You're not exactly Mr. Anime guy over there.
Yeah, but I'll put it this way. I liked the movie so much that I started picking up the manga. It definitely is an interesting stylistic choice, and I can see how it could be off-putting, but I really enjoy the movie. I think they do a really good job of blending some of the early arcs into one movie. It's not a perfect adaptation, but I think it's great, and I think some of the changes they made actually improve the story.
There are a lot of anime I could do. We could cheap out and just do a whole bunch of anime manga adaptations.
I mean, Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Full Metal Alchemist, etc., etc., etc.
As long as you're specifying Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Honestly, I liked both.
You could tell the original series went off the rails.
Oh, yeah.
And right where it went off the rails, too. Like, you can tell the exact moment they're like, and we're out of manga. Do we wait? Nope. Make shit up.
Yeah.
Admittedly, some of the shit they made up was cool and worked out a lot better than the original Hellsing anime. The original Hellsing anime had an ending that wasn't an ending. Nothing was resolved. Not really. So, anyway, but we're not gonna do that, even though we could. But we're not gonna. But we could.
If you want to hear us do an episode entirely on anime, let us know.
So, I think for my next one, I'm gonna go with an adaptation that has actually been adapted again. But I'm gonna go with the first adaptation. And that is Hellboy. Specifically, when I say first adaptation, I mean the Ron Perlman movies. Between Ron Perlman and Doug Jones, those movies were gold.
Oh, yeah.
And Guillermo's touch just brought it all together. And it actually got me to read some of the comics. And yes, there were a lot of changes made. But maybe it's because I saw the movies first. I will fully admit that potential bias exists. But I enjoyed the movie versions more than the comics, which is not to say that the comics are bad. The Hellboy comics are really good.
Have you watched any of the animated Hellboy movies?
I have. They're also really good.
Yeah, I've watched a few myself. And I've actually also watched the new adaptation of Hellboy. It would not fall into my favorite adaptations, but I do not think it deserves the hate it gets. David Harbour does a great job playing Hellboy. He's no Ron Perlman. I'll grant that. But he does a really good job. It's just some of the writing and directing choices of it fell flat.
Yeah. And because the Ron Perlman movies have such a warm spot in my heart, I don't want to... Taint isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. By going with what, by all accounts, is a, while not complete shit, definitely inferior adaptation.
Yeah.
By all accounts. Bear in mind, that's by accounts. I have not seen it.
So, honestly, from what I know, because I haven't read the comics, nothing against Mike Mignola's art style, or Mike Mignola as an artist, but there's just something about the style he uses for Hellboy that it puts me off. I
can see it being off-putting for some people. It is definitely a choice, TM.
Yeah. I like to say, I will never say he is not a good artist, or, that looks terrible. It's just, it puts me off.
Yeah, and that's valid. I mean, that's why I will never get into One Piece.
Honestly, same. I can't.
The art style just kills it for me. And maybe it's really good. Maybe you really like it. Maybe you're a fan listening to this. And that's fine. But I'm never going to read it or watch it. I'm sorry.
So, I'm going to go with another comic book movie.
Yeah, go for it.
Dredd.
Oh, that was such a good one.
Now, I do need to point something out. Outside of Dredd taking his helmet off, the Stallone Judge Dredd movie was actually more comic accurate. It was aesthetically more accurate, and it was tonally more accurate because it acknowledged that Judge Dredd is satire. That being said, Dredd is a great movie. It is a really well done, a little bit more serious take on the story of Judge Dredd, and it is Oh, it is beautiful. I love it.
And there are moments where Dredd doesn't just come out into your face and be like, satire, parody, bitch! But the degree of seriousness and grimness that the movie portrays in several spots really does it's a more subtle version of it, of being like, hey, this is still a dystopic police state. This sucks.
Yeah, but it goes more to the cautionary tale level of dystopic police state as opposed to the satirical level of dystopic police state. And that's fine. It is an adaptation. It takes the story in a different direction.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I believe it to be the superior movie.
Oh, it is a much better movie. But by no means will I ever deny that. I enjoy the Stallone Judge Dredd, but it is terrible. It is an abysmally bad movie.
So bad.
But I love it.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to snipe that one from you. That would be mean. That would be mean, because I know what that one means to you.
Which one? We can go ahead and talk about it.
Jurassic Park? Yeah,
so Jurassic Park is another one. I'm not going to talk about it too much because we did an entire episode on this with our friend Nix. Definitely go listen to that. But Jurassic Park is a movie that is so important to my childhood. And honestly, as a book or as an adaptation from the book, it kind of falls a little bit flat. I hate saying that as much as I love the movie, but if I were doing a talk on like the highest quality adaptations, Jurassic Park, I'm not sure would end up in it because it makes too many changes, and honestly, the movie kind of misses the point of the book. It's ironic that they finally really go back to the point of the original book in Jurassic World Dominion, which is a terrible Jurassic movie. Anything you want to add on Jurassic Park?
Dinosaurs go rawr.
Oh yeah, I mean, dinosaurs go rawr. It's fun.
Dinosaurs go rawr. Yay!
And I mean, like I said, I have watched this movie so many times, and when we watched it before doing the episode with Nix, I got caught up in it, that just hearing the theme, it just takes me back to childhood.
And that's all we can do of it without getting sued.
It's a dinosaur. Holy shit, it's a dinosaur. I don't know who originally gave the lyrics to it, but yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was going to come up eventually, and I was just like, do I snipe it? Do I not? Nah, I can't do that to him. Not that one. Not that property.
Oh, yeah.
But honestly, one that's going to put a lot of people off? The Blade trilogy. Not MCU.
Not MCU.
So it does not qualify for our caveat earlier in the episode.
We'll say, however, Deadpool qualifies because Deadpool is kind of MCU now.
Yes, absolutely.
Next MCU movie, Wesley Snipes shows up as Blade from another universe. God damn it!
I'm not editing this out later if that's the case.
Oh no, it would be hilarious.
Just saying.
You heard it here first.
Some fucking guy at Disney listening to this just going, God damn it, they scooped us! We've been planning this for years!
Now, just a random thing. Did you know that Wesley Snipes originally wanted to play a different Black Marvel superhero?
I did. I believe he wanted to originally be Black Panther.
Yes, he originally wanted to be Black Panther. Snipes as Black Panther would have been interesting.
It would have been. I will agree with the studio's reasoning for saying no. We were not ready for a Black Panther movie.
Oh,
culturally.
No, we were not. We were barely ready when we got it.
I mean, we weren't even ready for Blade.
Well, yeah.
So, as far as adaptation accurate to the movie source material... No. No, but what they gave us was, honestly, and we're going to get some hate for this probably, assuming anybody ever listens to us.
Like 20 people listen to us.
I honestly think the movie version of Blade's universe is better than the comics.
Well, because the comics, they're putting Blade as a vampire hunter in a world of vampires and a world of superheroes.
Yeah.
The superheroes and vampires do not mix very well. I'm sorry.
Unless you start putting the vampires on that level, at which point... Honestly, at that point, a hunter like Blade or the human hunters he later teams up with are fucked.
Yeah. And also, honestly, if you put vampires on the level of superheroes, humanity is fucked.
Except that we still have the superheroes.
But you gotta remember, vampires are a lot harder to kill than superheroes.
Depends on the superhero.
Than most superheroes.
Also, the problem with superheroes is they don't stay dead.
Do vampires?
I mean, it depends on the vampire. Dracula? No. That dude's getting resurrected left, right, and center regardless of franchise.
Yeah. Now, I'm personally not a big fan of the Blade movies. I enjoy them, but they will never rank in... They might rank in my favorite vampire movie lists, and that would be about it.
Yeah, they are... Well, they're from my childhood. I was high school, I think. Maybe late middle school, but I'm pretty sure early high school. When I first saw Blade, and I really enjoyed the movie.
Well, you were also a goth.
I was never actually full goth.
But still,
I required a level of commitment. I was not prepared for it.
Okay, I should say you were an edgy emo teen.
I'll take that one. And it was the right level of supernatural fuckery and over-the-top action for young me to just latch onto like a lamprey. And honestly, I rewatched the whole trilogy because they were available on one of the streaming platforms. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. And I watched all three again, and hold up isn't the right term for it, but they're still exactly as I remember them.
Oh yeah, they have, on the scale of things, they have actually aged remarkably well. I will give them that. I will also say that the fourth Blade movie, the one that does not star Wesley Snipes and was the pilot for the Blade TV show that was on, was it
Spike.
Cinemax? Oh, Spike, yeah. The fourth one actually is not terrible. If you ever want to watch it, I have it on DVD because it came with the other three.
Maybe someday. I don't know. We already have too many versions of Blade now because we've got the new version coming out. So I'm curious to see what they do with that, but that is neither here nor there. We're talking about existing adaptations and not MCU.
Yep.
So the Blade trilogy, one of my favorites, but definitely not an accurate adaptation at all.
I'm going to do a really weird one here.
I mean, you are a really weird one.
Gears of War, the board game.
A little out of left field, a little weird, slightly awkward. The judges will allow it.
So, I have actually never played the Gears of War video games.
They're okay.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about them, and basically everything I've heard, they're not necessarily my cup of tea, so I never really got into them.
Definitely not your cup of tea from what I know of your gaming habits.
But I picked up the Gears of War board game on a lark on clearance because it was a co-op game with really cool miniatures. This is, honestly, my favorite co-op game I have ever played.
We should play it sometime.
We should. So this game was the first game I have seen to implement variable AI for enemy-controlled monsters. And it does so with a deck of cards that basically says, so you draw the card for the enemy phase, and it shows what enemies will activate and how they will activate. So it's not like so many of these other co-op, like dungeon crawl types, where you always know how every enemy is going to react, so you can plan for that. You have to account for the fact that things are going to change. And it is that right mix of difficult but winnable. It is a great game. I would recommend you go find a copy, but good luck. Fantasy Flight Games lost the rights to Gears of War, so touching a copy for under about $150 is nearly impossible.
Well, so you brought up that one. I'll bring up a slightly different from what we've been discussing adaptation as well, and that is the Darkness video games. So these were adapted from comic series. Heavily adapted. And much like the Blade movies functioned better by removing those comics elements, these video games function better by removing the comics elements. There are a lot of things in the actual comics run that are just kind of like, why? The
Darkness games, that's The Darkness and The Darkness 2, have a really interesting mix of stealth and action. The stealth sections are the inverse of what you would expect. Most stealthy game sections are just like dark and you're moving from shadow to shadow. No, this is, you're in the light and your darkness powers do not work, and that's why you need to avoid enemies. It's a really cool inverse on normal gaming mechanics that you're used to seeing. I enjoy the story that the games tell better than the comics. I did read some of the comics as a result of playing these games, but I enjoyed the games a lot more. And I believe The Darkness 2 is still on Steam, so go check that out if you haven't. It's if you're into a weird supernatural action shooter with a decent story, check it out sometime. Oh, one warning. The Darkness 2 ends on a cliffhanger, setting up a sequel that we never got. I'm still heartbroken.
Here's a question for you. Do we want to tackle Star Wars at all, or do we want to leave that under the category of MCU and such?
It's too big.
Okay.
That's way too big.
Because there are several things related to Star Wars I could mention.
Yeah, no, it's let's let the Leviathan stay asleep.
Sounds good to me. We've talked about Star Wars too much recently anyways.
Your face is a Star Wars.
Alright, so I'm going to go with one that's going to be a surprise to nobody. The Meg. Well, actually, that might be a surprise to you if you weren't aware that The Meg is actually based on a novel.
And if you weren't aware of that, it's because you didn't listen to our podcast episode on it, and you should go do that now. No, right now. I mean, pause this one, open up a new tab, or go load it, listen to it, and then come back.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much about The Meg because, well, we did an entire episode on it, but it is one of my favorite shark movies, if not my favorite shark movie.
And it has the distinction of being one of only 2 shark movies that I like.
Yeah, it is a great movie, it's a ton of fun, and honestly, the book is pretty fun too. And supposedly we are getting a sequel to The Meg, so I'm looking forward to that.
I'm going to go with one that should surprise nobody. It's a really decent adaptation. It's just a good movie. Even if it does, unfortunately, bring some flaws to the table that have resulted in certain cultural trends that are an issue today. I am, of course, talking about Watchmen.
I don't think Watchmen falls into my favorite adaptations, personally. I enjoy it, but
this one's kind of a little bit of a cheat because it is technically a DC title, but the movie was standalone and came out before they rolled Watchmen into the greater DC universe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that it counts.
I'll allow it. Yeah, Watchmen, it is a really good movie, and aside from the change to the end, it is a very faithful adaptation with, honestly, stellar casting.
Yeah. You love the characters you're supposed to love. You hate the characters you're supposed to hate.
And you love to hate them.
Oh, yeah. And it was one of the earliest films to look at the wider pop culture zeitgeist and go, yes, a comic book movie can work.
Yeah. And unfortunately, one of the biggest reasons that it was a bit of a commercial failure is people weren't ready for an R-rated comic book movie. Yes, I know Blade came out before this and was an R-rated comic book movie, but people didn't realize it was a comic book movie because it was a vampire movie. And people thought Watchmen was basically going to be Batman saying fuck. That's what they thought it was going to be.
Unfortunately.
Big blue penis.
Everywhere. Just blue dongs for days. And I'm queer. I don't mind a dong, but it was excessive.
It never bothered me.
It wasn't a, oh god, penis thing. It was just how much penis we got.
I've often thought that Watchmen would have been a much better commercial success if they had edited the theatric release version to be PG-13 and then released the unrated cut and basically been like, you thought what we did was okay, but it was missing stuff? Check out this cut.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been a much better success commercially.
Yeah, but it
especially because then they could have sold 2 versions of it.
Yeah, but then we also would have been saddled with a PG-13 Watchmen, and that's just something I don't want to see ever.
All right, I'm going to go for one that is probably not a surprise to anybody. V for Vendetta.
That's a good one.
And I'm going to be honest. I think V for Vendetta as a movie is better than the comic.
I agree. I haven't read the full comic, but I've seen snippets enough to be like.
And part of it is the comic. Alan Moore admits that the comic was one of his early works, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but he wrote several issues and then didn't touch it for 2 years before going back to it. And honestly, it shows. It shows that it's an early work. It shows that it's... I'm not going to say amateurish, but I am not a big fan of Alan Moore. But this work is not... It is not up to his quality.
Yeah. Just because you don't like his work doesn't mean his work is crap.
Yeah.
He is a name in the industry for a reason.
Oh yeah, he is one of the greatest comic book writers. I just happen to not like a lot of what he writes. But V for Vendetta as a movie, part of the reason it works so well is because in the comic you cannot capture V's eloquence and charisma,
which Hugo Weaving nailed.
And especially the fact that prior to V for Vendetta, what had we seen Hugo Weaving in?
The Matrix and Lord of the Rings, where he played a man made out of pasteboard.
He played someone who is completely stoic, emotionless, calm, collected. And then you get him in V for Vendetta, where you do not see his face, and he is so fucking charismatic and...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he'd done other stuff before that. I mean, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. But it didn't really have mainstream commercial success, so it's not what he was known for.
Yeah. He was known for being Agent Smith and Elrond.
Yep.
I know one for you. At least I think for you.
What you got?
Castlevania.
I was actually just thinking that. So, when I say Castlevania, I am referring to the Netflix animated series. It was penned by Warren Ellis. Yes, there are some issues there. We're not going to get into that. But regardless of anything related to the man himself, the writing was top-notch, and the characters were top-notch. Some of the later seasons were weaker than seasons 1 and 2, but it was still a masterclass in doing an adaptation. I'm excited to see what they do with the upcoming project involving Richter, who is a major character in Castlevania. I have been a fan of the games for a very long time, and they knocked it out of the park with the animated series. I mean, they got me to cry for Dracula. Dracula! You know, that Dracula.
I still need to finish watching that eventually.
You really do.
It's on my list. So another one for me, and you actually mentioned this earlier, but Beastars.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one where okay. I've mentioned this before, but yes, I am a fucking furry. That's just... There is no way around that. If you've been listening to my comics episodes, you've definitely figured that out by now, because I've done how many furry comics at this point? But... So I started watching Beastars when it first dropped, and I really enjoy it, which I did not honestly expect to like it much, because it's a high school drama, but it's so much more than just high school drama, and the world that it sets up is really good. It is another one that I liked enough that I started picking up the manga.
I am not on this train, not out of any particular vehement hatred or anything. I'm not on this train. But I know plenty of people who are fans of both the series and, as a result, the manga. So Definitely a solid pick, especially for you. We're starting to wind down a little bit, but there's still a few ideas rattling around over here. I'm just trying to figure out which one or ones I want to do. I'm an idiot.
Well, yes.
One of the old schools, the OGs.
What was that?
One of the ancient primordial adaptations. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That cartoon was very different from the comics.
Oh, yes. I mean, the original comics were not children-friendly.
No, they were not. And we got this really interesting and weird and confusing and all over the place animated children's show. But it worked. That is literally my childhood. And the fact that you keep seeing it being readapted and readapted and readapted. So when I talk about it, I am, of course, referring to the original animated series way back. Now, that is not to shit on any subsequent animated projects since I'm just shouting out the OG. Because...
I mean, Ninja Turtles has stood the test of time. We're continued to be popular despite the mediocre late 80s, early 90s movies, despite the not actually as bad as I expected Michael Bay movies.
The first set of movies are, again, my childhood, and I love them dearly.
But they are so bad.
They were not high cinema. I mean, it took us only 3 movies to involve time travel, so...
Yeah. And, I mean, of course, those movies existed to sell toys.
Absolutely. Which, admittedly, is what the original cartoon show existed for. I mean, the original cartoon show of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. All of your favorite 80s animated shows existed to sell toys.
They existed to sell you the toys. Because, yeah, they could get some advertising dollars, but where they really made their money was toys.
Merch, merch, merch.
In the immortal words of Yogurt, merchandising.
And if you don't get that reference, I am so sorry for you. Also, go watch Spaceballs. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Alright. Some are going to hate me for this, I admit, but...
I already hate you. So.
Well, yeah. The legendary Monsterverse. Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla vs. Kong, King of Monsters, etc.
I love them.
Oh yeah,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, you know the classic Japanese kaiju movies are great. They are hokey. They are silly. It's a guy in a rubber suit smashing sets, and I love it. But with Legendary's Monsterverse, they finally did a good job adapting those movies to American audiences.
So, speaking of the OG Godzilla and Kaiju movies, would you like to know what originally got me into them?
Sure.
It's going to sound a little backwards.
Gino?
Nope. Power Rangers.
Fair.
The OG Kaiju movies are basically Power Rangers without the Power Rangers.
Did you know there's a comic book that is Power Rangers vs. Godzilla?
That does not surprise me at all.
Do you need it?
Power Rangers has had a lot of comics crossovers. I believe they did one with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. Not that long ago. But, yeah. Some good stuff. Let me see. I kind of want to do just one more, but I'm trying to be picky. I want to finish strong, you know, because we've hit a lot of the big ones.
We have,
which admittedly is the point of this episode.
Yeah, I mean there's still several others I could start rattling off.
There's so many good adaptations out there, and whether they're good because they're enjoyable or they're good because they're true to the source material, they're still good. There are, of course, however, a lot of bad adaptations.
Oh, yeah, there are some really terrible adaptations.
Looking at you, Super Mario Brothers.
Looking at you, Doom.
Which one?
I mean...
Yes.
Both movies were terrible.
They were awful.
They were enjoyable, but they were awful.
Yeah.
The old Mortal Kombat movies.
Enjoyable, but awful.
So if you'd like us to do an episode on terrible movie adaptation or terrible adaptations...
How many times are you going to plug us in our own show?
Hey, I haven't told anyone to go pay for it. I'm just trying to get people to give us suggestions, because most of our suggestions have been our ideas recently.
That said, if you wanted to pay us to do a topic...
There's a link for that in the show notes.
I'm trying to think. There's so many of them that are pretty good, but like I'm having trouble finding like the one I want to end on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because there are so many good adaptations.
Well, here's a thought: rattle off some of the ones you're thinking of, and see if any of them just really like click on you. Because I mean, we can list other adaptations we like, just not really talk about them much.
No. I can tell you right now, none of them are clicking. I don't want to. I want to save them for possible future episodes.
What about Invincible?
Invincible's a good one. That is a strong one. I'll steal that one for my closer.
Oh yeah, because it's one that you've read some of the comics too, haven't you?
I have read some of the comics. I'm excited for some of what's coming in that show. But what we got so far has been amazing. Is it a direct one-to-one adaptation? No. But it's a really good adaptation, and most importantly, it carries over the themes and tone. And the cast is amazing. The animation is clean and crisp. And the art style is a direct homage to the comics.
Yeah, the art is gorgeous.
Yeah, I think that'll do me. You got another one you want to close on?
Oh, there are several I could close on. I'm kind of running down some of the options.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good ones out there still.
I'm torn between two.
Such your feelings.
Actually, I'm not even going to use either of those two.
Okay, what you got?
Blade Runner.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the book. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is... I know I'm going to get some hate for this, but it's a meandering mess. It tells some interesting stories, but it's like it's telling... It's like they're disconnected from each other. And Blade Runner takes the most interesting of those three stories and adapts it into a really good movie that touches on some of my favorite themes and tones in media.
And bearing in mind, I have not read the book, but it just strikes me, a lot of the philosophical undertones of the film, to properly convey in print, does not strike me as something that would be an enjoyable read.
Well, especially because the book does that really common thing from like the 60s to 80s sci-fi of taking a pseudo-religious bent.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do not enjoy that in my media.
No.
I didn't enjoy it in Dune, and I mean, it was a major part of Dune, and it made sense in Dune, but I still didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Then there's, of course, Stranger in a Strange Land, where, dear God, it went over the top on that.
Ugh.
But, like I say, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is not a bad book. It's well worth the read, but it's rough, it's dated, and yes, Blade Runner as a movie is a little bit dated, but it is... The biggest place where it's dated as a movie is its pacing. It's just not paced for modern audiences. And
we actually did it as a early test episode, and that was something that I brought up, is for a modern audience, that pacing really is just... don't get me wrong, it is a fantastic movie. I love it to death. It is OG classic. I nearly fell asleep a few times rewatching it recently because the pacing of modern movies has changed so much, and as somebody who consumes a lot of those modern movies, I have adapted to that newer, faster, snappier pace.
Yeah, the pacing is rough, but it is such a brilliant movie, and again, I don't think I will... I don't care how many times I watch it. Roy Batty's final lines will always bring me to tears.
Which is hilarious to me because apparently that was just him rambling incoherently. And it worked.
Fucking Rutger Hauer. Alright, well, want to do anything else?
Nah, I want to close on kind of a... I want to do that thing I do where I do a pseudo-philosophical close here, where adaptations are ways for us to take existing media and find new ways to enjoy it. And if some of these adaptations sounded good to you, feel free to check them out. And if there's other adaptations we didn't mention, hey, that's fine. We already acknowledged there's so many good adaptations out of there. There are some bad ones.
But here's the thing. Even if it's a terrible adaptation, if you enjoy it, great.
Yeah.
If you unironically enjoy Super Mario Brothers,
I'm slightly concerned for you, but hey, you do you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And
I mean, the 90s Mortal Kombat movies are objectively terrible.
They are so much fun.
But I love them. Like, that's part of my childhood.
And like I say, the first Doom movie.
Terrible, but fun.
And I gotta admit, there was one thing that Doom movie did so well.
First-person sequence?
The first-person sequence. It was done beautifully.
Yeah, it was really done well. The cast was great. It's just the script was just weak as hell.
By the way, there were no demons or hell.
Pun not entirely intended.
They were... what were they? Mutants?
Evolved humans.
Yeah.
And what it is the infection would bring out your true nature. But because most of the people there were sketchy researchers and hired guns,
they all became horrible monsters. But they weren't demons.
Yep. It was... It was like somebody took somebody's Doom fanfic and made it a movie.
But it wasn't the fan fiction that involved Doom Guy's rabbit being an anthropomorphic rabbit girl.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that fic exists somewhere.
Oh, I know it does. I haven't read it, but I know it does. And if you're not sure what we're talking about with Doom Guy's rabbit, that's a whole thing. We could spend probably an hour talking about that.
Listen, all you have to know is that they came for Daisy, and Doom Guy's having none of it.
Uh-huh. It is implied in the Doom lore, at least the original games, that Doom Guy goes on a rampage through hell because they killed his bunny.
Yep, and I think that's fucking valid. It started as like a fan headcanon, but the latest batch of games have included a couple of nods that don't quite say it's canon, but kind of wink and nod a little bit. But I really could go on about Doom and that. So hey, if you want to hear us talk about Doom sometime, let us know or pay us.
And one other thing that's very, very important to note about adaptations, and it's also true of reboots, sequels, remakes, etc. They do not invalidate the original work.
Yeah, I mean, my avoidance of the David Harbour Hellboy as a personal choice. If I were to sit down and watch it, it would not in any way, shape, or form erase Ron Perlman's Hellboy from existence or something.
Yeah. You know, okay, they make a movie you hate based off of a comic book you love. Guess what? Your comic books are still there. You can still read them. You know, they change your favorite film franchise and you feel like they ruined it. I'm looking at you, Star Wars fans. You can rewatch those old films. They're still there. They are still just as good as you remember them.
The Super Mario movie did not kill the Mario game franchise.
No, not for lack of trying.
Boom. Oh, God. It was... These adaptations exist, good and bad, enjoyed and unenjoyed, because we latch onto these stories. and we want to see these stories again and again, and each time we change how that story is being told a little bit. And I think that just really speaks to the fact that one of the core pieces at the very center of humanity is we're storytellers.
Yeah, and adaptations also exist to bring new life into the property, both its fandom and, honestly, its financial state. Because old fans fade. Maybe they find new loves, maybe they just don't have the time, or, of course, people grow old and die. If you leave a property untouched for too long, it will fade into obscurity. And so an adaptation is made not just for the old fans, but also for potential new fans, to bring new people in, to bring new ideas, and honestly, to sell more stuff.
Merchandising!
Yeah, it's, Sandman. How many people started buying the comic books because they watched this show? Or how many people, even if they're not buying the comics, are now buying Sandman merch that probably never would have even been made without the show? And, not like Neil Gaiman or DC Vertigo is hurting for money and needs the money from Sandman, but still, it also, like I say, it breathes new life into the fandom, and that's a good thing.
It is. So enjoy your adaptations, and when they tell you they're adapting your favorite franchise, maybe hold off a moment or two before getting on that internet forum and writing that angry flaming post. Give it a chance.
And honestly, still don't, even if it's not very good, don't write that angry flaming post, because that just closes your group off from potential new fans, from people who see this adaptation that maybe isn't as good and want to see where it came from. But fuck the Super Mario Brothers movie.
That's it for this week.
If you like what we do, please give us a like, follow, rating, and all of that nonsense on your favorite podcatcher.
You can also support us on Patreon for special bonus content and episodes a week early, or tip us on Ko-fi. You can find those and our social media platforms and Discord server in the show notes.
Also, be sure to give our friends some love. Honestly, I'm not even going to try to decide who we're promoting anymore because we don't stick to that.
So, yeah, enjoy whoever these assholes are.
How do you know if a TV show is going to be any good?
The answer is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Well, really just 3. Season 3, that is. And on the Magic Numbers 3 podcast, we believe that Season 3 is what makes or breaks every TV show.
Each week, we'll dive deep into an episode of Season 3 of a show with great insight, fun games, and of course, a few tangents.
The Magic Numbers 3 is currently available on all major podcasting apps, and you can follow us on Twitter at Magic3TVPod. And remember, the Magic Number is 3 when it comes to TV.
Last, but certainly not least, we want to give a quick shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon and Ko-fi, especially these idiots.
Random Warrior, Rain, and the perpetually banned Athen Mortis.
You know what you did.